Tsukiji wakes before the sun, ice cracking in bins, knives ringing on boards, and rainwater sluicing down narrow lanes. Among the rush, a single oil paper umbrella leans against a shuttered stall. No vendor claims it, no porter moves it. On wet days, the wise give that lane a wide berth. Chapter 1. Rain Among the Stalls. The rain came in slanted threads, drilling pinpricks into puddles that reflected fluorescent strips and hand-painted price boards. Takumi threaded his way through carts and crates, his boots squeaking on the wet concrete. Old men shouted bids over the thump of knives and the squeal of styrofoam coolers dragged across the floor. In the lee of a shuttered stall he saw it, an oil paper umbrella. Bone ribs neat and uncracked, a painted eye set just below the canopy's apex. The lacquered handle was warm against his palm, as if someone had just left it. "Osewa ni narimasu," he muttered to the empty lane, a worker's reflexive thanks, and hooked it over his wrist. "Don't pick up what isn't yours," an elderly vendor called, barely glancing up from trimming tuna. "Tools remember hands." Takumi laughed it off and kept moving. The umbrella shed water perfectly, beads sliding like quicksilver across the waxed paper. But as he passed the shrine at the market's edge and tossed a coin, he felt the faintest tug from the umbrella. A small insistence, as if it wanted its own bow before the tiny stone foxes. He shook rain from his hair, told himself to stop being superstitious, and hurried toward the auction hall, the painted eye glistening as though it had caught its own raindrop. Chapter 2. The Eye in the Rain. By mid-morning, the downpour turned to a steady sheet. When Takumi opened the umbrella to cross an alley, the canopy gave a tiny shiver, a ripple that ran from tip to rib. He told himself the wind did it, but the market's wind always moved in gusts. This was a pulse. Each time he glanced up, the painted eye seemed just a fraction higher, catching the light like wet lacquer. He closed it quickly and leaned it by his stall, out of the way. It stood without slipping, though the concrete sloped and every other umbrella toppled in the runoff. That night, he set it by his apartment door, propped in a ceramic stand. The typhoon skirted Tokyo. Rain clattered a staccato on the eaves. Between taps came softer knocks. 3, then a pause, then 1, like the hesitant summons of a customer after hours. He peered through the peephole. The hallway was empty, but the umbrella's shadow lay longer than it should, the curve of the ribs stretching across the genkan tiles. When he finally slept, he dreamed of walking the market's narrow lane while it rained inside the umbrella, drops pattering on paper above his head. In the dream, something unfolded beneath the canopy, a thin, jointed leg ending in a single straw sandal, testing the floor with a dry scrape. He woke with his hand clenched around the lacquered handle, though he had no memory of getting out of bed. Chapter 3. The Lane No One Walks. Takumi brought the umbrella back before dawn, meaning to lean it where he found it, and forget the whole thing. The market had its superstitions, and he'd already broken 2. You don't poach tools and you don't mock what older hands respect. But the lane was oddly empty. Carts took the long way. Voices dipped as he passed. An auntie at the tea stand crossed herself in the old way and looked away. "Kasa-obake," she murmured. "Umbrella ghost." He planted it carefully against the shuttered stall and stepped back. The canopy gave a delicate pop and opened a hand's width, though his fingers were no longer on the catch. The painted eye rolled upward to meet his gaze. From beneath the paper came a whisper like dry reeds rubbing. "Atsui, samui." Hot, cold, the market's simplest words, spoken in a voice that had learned to talk by listening to weather. "No," Takumi said, surprising himself with how firmly the word came. He folded the umbrella and pivoted away, forcing his feet to pick up speed. The umbrella didn't scrape after him, but as he crossed the lot, he caught its reflection in a puddle, standing upright, though he knew he had left it leaning. The pupil in the painted eye narrowed, the way lacquer does when a cold wind dries it too fast. Chapter 4. Caught in the Storm. The typhoon's outer bands finally hit by noon. Vendors pulled down shutters, plastic flapped, signs clattered, fish scales flashed in gutters. Takumi ducked beneath a cracked awning, breath fogging in the sudden chill. A shape bumped his calf. The umbrella handle rested neatly against his leg, as if it had hooked him by choice. He dropped it. The catch popped. The canopy bloomed open with a rustle that sounded disturbingly like an exhale. From beneath, something unfolded. A long, jointed leg, shin like bamboo, a single Geita sandal tapping once on wet concrete. The umbrella leaned forward, balancing on that stick limb, the canopy tilted in a parody of a bow. The painted eye looked straight through him, pupil dilating like a living iris. A tongue of darkened paper uncurled along a rib and licked a raindrop from the air. "Mochikaere," it hissed, "take me home." Wind shoved rain sideways. The awning rattled like drums. The kasa-obake pressed close to shield him, and the sudden dry space smelled of old paper, ink, and mildew, a closet no one opened for 100 summers. He remembered the tea auntie's warning: cast-off tools that endure a century wake up lonely or angry. "I'll return you," he said, "to the shrine." The painted eye blinked once, slow as lacquer setting. The leg folded and vanished. The canopy closed, the catch snapping shut like a satisfied mouth. Chapter 5. The Folklore of Kasa-obake. He carried the umbrella to the small Inari shrine at the market's edge where foxes watched over merchants' luck. An elder priest met him with a knowing nod. 100 rainy seasons make a memory, the priest said, setting out salt and sake. 100 hands make a home. When the hands are gone, the home grows teeth. He brushed a sprig of sakaki over the canopy and tied a red and white cord around the handle. "We do not destroy such things," he added softly. "We thank them and give them a place to be still." They laid the umbrella against the shrine wall. Takumi offered coins, sake, and, on impulse, a small bamboo comb from a vendor's stall. "For the paper," he said, foolishly, but the priest merely inclined his head. Rain softened to a hush. Somewhere, a knife struck a board in steady rhythm again. When Takumi returned to work, the lane was open, feet slapping, voices rising. The umbrella remained by the shrine, its painted eye dull and restful. On the next storm day, an unfamiliar vendor reached for it and froze, reconsidering. He bowed to the foxes and walked on, empty-handed. The market breathed easier. Takumi still felt watched sometimes in the rain, but now it was the way a grateful dog watches, making sure you are still there. If a perfect umbrella waits in a place where tools are never left, let it wait. Not all shelter is meant for you, and not all hunger is for water. Some things want hands, not dryness. Kasa-obake, umbrella ghosts, are classic tsukumogami, household objects believed to develop spirits after 100 years. While often playful in art, regional tales cast them as resentful when discarded. Market shrines to Inari are common for merchants. Offerings like salt, sake, sakaki branches, and even combs acknowledge and pacify tool spirits rather than destroy them.